All right, you ready? You ready for mommy to tell you your birthday story and how you came? Hey Health Nuts, welcome back to my channel. Someone has the hiccups. In case you are new here, I'm now a mom. It's so crazy still to say. And this is, I feel like my turtleneck is like blocking my view of her. I'm not used to wearing anything but pajamas. This is Miss Sage Chloe Gonsalves, which we are going to talk about later in the video, why her last name is Gonsalves, because we didn't address that in like the whole Meet the Baby video, and we'll talk about that. I'm going to bring in Matt later, aka Daddy, Sage's daddy, into the video, because there's a lot of parts to the birth story that I kind of forget, like timelines and maybe some details, and I think Matt, who wasn't in excruciating pain, trying to push out a baby, will probably remember a little bit more, right? So first off, crazy, I'm sure by now you guys have seen the official birth vlog, which was the most intense, real, raw video I cannot believe I put out onto the internet. But you know what? Those videos really helped me when I was getting ready to have a child. Even before being pregnant, I watched those a lot. I found them really interesting just to see real everyday people going through the steps and motions of birth. And it's so crazy, but also like very interesting to me. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. I don't know. Is it an enjoyable video? It's definitely like an intense video. So anyways, I will link that. I have a whole like pregnancy playlist. I will link down below in the info box if you guys want to check that out. Basically from when I found out I was pregnant to when Sage came out of my body. Okay, we'll leave her in the video while she's happy, but if she gets cranky, I'll give her to daddy. So basically, my contractions started on the Saturday, November 7th. She was born November 8th at 1:26 a.m. And to be honest, I woke up that Saturday thinking like nothing was gonna happen. I woke up, it was like 5 or 6 in the morning, and I was starting to have like some cramping. I think it was waking me up a bit because I couldn't sleep, so I just got up and decided to run myself a bath. I ended up being in the bath for like 2 hours, and I talk about this in my birth vlog, but I was in the bath for 2 hours, on and off contractions. Well, at that point, I didn't even know what they were. I thought, is this early labor? Is this just like cramping? I have no idea, because as a new mom and going through labor for the first time, you second guess everything. Like nothing is normal. You don't know what is what, or if you are experiencing what you think you're experiencing. I was, now I know, I was having early labor contractions. They were about 20-30 minutes apart. They were irregular and they were lasting about 30 to 45 seconds. And they were just like uncomfortable, like period cramps. Like I get really intense period cramps, as I mentioned in that video. So for me, it wasn't anything like unbearable. It was just like more like achy, like, ugh, this is annoying. And they would come and they would go. Sometimes it would be like every other one would get more intense that I had to breathe through a little bit, but nothing like you see in the movies, you know, was not at that stage at all. And I've heard from my doula that the early labor, because there's like 3 stages of labor. There's early labor, active labor, and then like the pushing labor. From my understanding, I'm not a doctor. One thing looking back on, I'm so grateful we did, is while we were having breakfast this morning, Matt had put on a video that our midwife sent us, and it was called like how to push a baby out. And it was on my like to-do list to watch, and I just never got around to it. So that morning that I gave birth, I watched this, and Matt made me watch it like 3 times. He was like, or maybe more. He was like, watch it again, and like practice it. And it was basically like breathing techniques on how to physically push your baby out. And that video saved my life. Like, honestly, that is how I pushed her out so quickly, which we'll get to. But I just really wanted to mention that video. And by the way, I'm going to have like a whole kind of like recap of my birth story on the blog. So I will link any resources and stuff that really helped me prepare. So if you guys are pregnant and about to give birth, that you can maybe reference it and just have some peace of mind for some things that can help you out in the process. In terms of our birth plan, I use quotations because it's like a plan. It's really just I think in hypnobirthing, they call it a birth goal. Is that what they call it, Matt? A birth goal in hypno? Yeah. I think it's called like a birth goal. And it's basically you just write out your kind of ideal scenario of what is going to go down. Things also too that you may want, because when you're actually in labor, it's really hard to make decisions. Just there's a lot going on. You may be in a lot of pain, and it's hard just to be in the mind frame of making a decision. So it's good to kind of prep that stuff ahead. Like, do you want an epidural? Do you want, I might even share our birth plan actually on the blog post, because I find it might be interesting if you guys want to know what was on there. I'm totally open to that. I will post that on the blog post to give you guys an idea of what a birth plan is. It's a super simple, like one pager of like what you think your plan is going to be. So our plan was basically, you know, labor at home for as long as possible and then go to the hospital. So in theory, that is what happened. We were able to have our doula and our midwife here at the house and then head to the hospital like at the very last minute. We did for a little bit just like contemplate on a home birth just because of how things are right now. And we knew we couldn't have the doula at the hospital. Our midwives could come, but not the doula, only Matt. It was like either the doula or Matt could come. And obviously I picked Daddy. So, and at that point, Matt could still come into the room. If he couldn't, I probably would have really wanted a home birth. So that was the plan. And I was like, in terms of an epidural, I was always on the fence about it. I honestly just thought, I don't know if I'd be able to go through it without any drugs. So I was never like against drugs. And I am still not against drugs. I'm like, you do what you want to do. I was just like, I'm open to both. I'm no hero. You don't win a medal if you don't take the epidural to have a baby. You have to do what feels right to you. And I just kind of want to play it by ear and see like, how painful are these contractions? Oh, I wish I could tell past Nikole when she would say that. I'm like, oh, you don't even know what you're going to get into. So that was our plan going into everything. So I heard that like early labor can last like up to 3 days. It can kind of just be that same thing, like on and off, cramping, all that. So I had no idea, like, was that going to be the night that Sage comes? And I was just kind of like going about my day, not really knowing what was going to happen. Matt came into the bathroom probably around like, I don't know, 8 a.m. I honestly can't remember how long I was in there for, but he was just checking in on me, asking how I was feeling. And yeah, I just kind of told him I was having these like on and off contractions, didn't really know what was up. We ended up just messaging our doula that morning, and I have the text messages I'll put on the screen. And I think I just said like, hey, I'm kind of feeling a little bit crampy. They're on and off, and just to give her an update, because she's like the first person I need to tell, like if I thought I was experiencing any pre-labor feelings. So she basically just said, you know, chill, relax, let me know if they start getting closer together. We just had a super chill day. I wrote some notes so like I don't forget. I will mention that a few days, I think the Wednesday before, I did see my midwife and she measured me and I was 3 centimeters dilated. That being said, it's quite normal. You can be like 4 centimeters dilated and doesn't mean like you're gonna go into labor right away. And honestly, I can't even remember when I lost my mucus plug. I feel like it was on the Saturday. That I kind of forget. And if you don't know what a mucus plug is, I don't know if you should Google it, but you will if you're pregnant. We went for a walk with Cashew. I'll insert like an Instagram story of us in the park that morning. And I think I talked to like my mom and my aunt and my sister that day. And even my best friend, but I just was kind of like, oh yeah, I'm just feeling achy. Like I didn't tell anyone that I thought I was going into labor. Yeah, what else did we do? We went got at the car wash. We went to Costco and got like decorations for Christmas. Like it was such a weird chill day. I was in Costco having contractions. Those were getting a little bit more like strong coming on, and we were tracking it. So we're out all day. I was just keeping busy. And then by the time we got home, it was probably, I want to say like 6:30. And we just decided like, which this was like the worst decision. Do not eat pizza. If you think you're going into labor. It was the worst idea ever. But we just decided to throw in this like mushroom cheese pizza and decided to make granola bars, which 2 batches of granola bars. You know, I don't know why we thought this was a good idea, but in hindsight, it did really help like have something to focus on instead of what was about to come. So at this point, it was like 6:30 and Jess, our doula, was just kind of contacting me throughout the day, asking if there was any progress. And it was the same thing. I was actually getting a little discouraged because I was still like the 20-minute, sometimes it'd be like a little less than 20 minutes, but it was around like every 20 minutes, 30 to 40 second contractions. And it was just getting a little like disappointing. I thought maybe she's not going to come tonight because let me tell you, I was in the zone. I was ready to push a baby out that night. Like, it wasn't like, oh, okay, maybe next. I wasn't trying to delay it. I was like, I'm ready. I slept. I had a nap. I feel good. I feel calm. Let's do this. So when she ended up calling me and she said, okay, so, things may not progress. Why don't you guys just have a chill night, eat an early dinner, and go to bed and get some rest, because you'll need it tomorrow if she comes, and maybe I'll come in the morning and do some induction acupuncture on you. So I was a little bit defeated at this point, because I just thought all day I'm thinking, we're going to meet our baby girl. We're going to meet Sage tonight. And she was not ready to come yet, or so we thought. So we were like, is there anything that we can do to help speed things up? Because like Matt was fine having another good night's sleep. I was ready, guys, to get this baby out. I was starting to get uncomfortable. We were 4 days past our due date, and I was just ready. So she ends up telling us to do these stretches from this website called Spinning Babies. And they were called, I wrote them down here. She told us to do leaning inversions and side lying, also doing lunges, and kind of alternating those all during contractions. And I will link that website and the exercises that we did in the blog post, but they were the simplest exercises. We did the inversion one once, she said, and it's kind of like you're doing a nosedive push-up off of the couch. It's hard to do when you're 9 months pregnant. And then the other ones you do with your partner, the side laying. And Matt was like pushing. We didn't film any of this, but it was him pushing on my hips while I kind of lifted my side leg. And there's a whole tutorial on the Spinning Babies website. They were simple exercises, nothing that I thought was actually gonna do anything. Next minute, we were going from like 20-minute intervals to like 10. I actually ended up texting Jess at 7:41, and I basically said contractions are starting to pick up every 7 to 10 minutes, and my pain level was like a 5 to 6. So it was slowly increasing, because before then I think I told her like, oh, they're like a 4. They maybe a 5. Like, I was second guessing myself in the pain level, but they were, once we did those stretches, they were increasing and definitely getting more painful. In the birth vlog, you would have seen, we were still making these granola bars, these famous granola bars. And I was starting to like lean on the counter and breathe through them. Matt would come do these hip squeezes, which were the best thing ever. I basically had to have that every single time I was having a contraction, because it just really helped, I guess, like offset the pain or redirect the pain. or the pressure. And because I was getting it a lot, like in my hips and throughout my front. Before we did the pushes, before we did the exercises, I was getting a lot of like bum achingness, and I guess that could turn into back labor. So at this point, I tell Jess, and she's like, okay, so I'm gonna have a quick nap, because I think she knew it was gonna be a long night, that most likely baby's coming. She said, message me as soon as they get any shorter. So, I thought, okay, we have some time. Like, let's finish making these damn granola bars. And, Matt at this point was like stress cleaning in between contractions, which was really funny to look back on in the vlog. And we didn't really know what to expect. We just thought, okay, like things are picking up, and we still have time. Like, what else do we have to put in the hospital bag? All that stuff, all those last minute things that you leave till the end, we were doing at that point. Okay, so I'm gonna bring Matt in. We're gonna bring Daddy in. Okay. And finish telling the story. Get some tense. All right, we got the other half now.
I'm here, ready to go.
Takes 2 to tango.
Takes 2 to make a baby.
Yeah.
Literally.
And long 9 months.
Yes.
So, I wanted to bring Matt into this video because he was obviously not only a big part of making Sage. Oh, was that Cashew? Yeah. It's okay. It's fine. Oh, sorry. Cashew just hit the tripod. So obviously, Matt was a big part of bringing Sage into the world, not only for the making of her, but also the birth. Like, you were so involved though, Matt. Like, I don't think...
I tried, yeah. I think I tried my best. I guess, like, my thought was just... the easier it is for you and the more comfortable you are, likely the easier and more comfortable it will be for me as well. So it's just that bit of that mind frame where it's like, oh, if I make it nice and as enjoyable as possible and you're as comfortable as possible, I feel like it was going to also make me feel more comfortable.
So you're being selfish.
Yeah. I think I was just being strategic, right? I was just thinking like, okay, if it's good for you, it's good for me, it's good for Sage, it's good for, everyone involved. So just do my part to try to make things, as smooth as possible.
And I think you mentioned this lots of times, like, obviously, like, I was the only one that could go through the birthing process. So I think you said many times, like, I just want to do my part and do what I can to support you, because, like, obviously, like, there's only so much, like, you can do. So being a support person obviously was a huge help throughout the process. So basically, I left off at the part where we were making granola bars.
No.
It's like a running joke.
I thought you were going to say we left off at the part where we were making baby.
No, we were making granola bars, and
yes,
I messaged Jess and said that, like, contractions, we did those exercises. I messaged Jess, said they're now like 10 minutes apart, pain level like 5 to 6, and things are getting intense quickly.
Yeah, I mean, once we started doing that stretching, I mean, I feel like it just escalated from being sporadic, what are they called?
Contractions.
Sporadic contractions.
Forgotten already.
Yeah, it was like very sporadic, just like could be at 20 minutes, could be 15, could be 2. It was very all over the place. And I think once we started doing the exercises, the stretching, it was just like shortly after, it was just like every 8 minutes or whatever. And it went from, like a 7 or like a 5 pain to like an 8 to a 9 very quickly.
Yeah.
Like a wrap. Yeah.
Because I messaged her at 7:41, and when do you think I was probably in full on active labor, what, at like 9?
So I'd messaged her to say that the pain was an 8 at 9 o'clock p.m. Yeah, so around 9:10, she said, okay, I'm going to get dressed and I'm on my way. After the contractions were going much quicker and more intense, like I called the doula at like 9:10, and she's like, okay, I'm on my way. And then I messaged Chloe and was like, come pick up Cashew. And she came over shortly after that. And then I think the doula, it took her probably a good, at least 30 to 40 minutes to get there, because she doesn't live in our town.
And I remember Chloe got here and Chloe's like, I'm having contractions. Chloe's just like cuddling with Cashew, asking me like, so how painful is it?
By the time Jess got here, like the doula, it was maybe like 9:50, let's just say. And she wasn't here that long. She was only here like 15, maybe 20 minutes max, when she's like, we should call the midwife. Because I can see here, like, we called the midwife at 10:07 from my phone. And I think same thing, the midwife, it took her probably, I think by the time the midwife got here, it was close to like 11. It's pretty close to like 11, because they weren't here very long. Like, I think in total, like, the doula was here for like an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half, let's just say.
I felt like she was here for like 3 hours.
It was like an hour and a half.
So when Jess actually got there, I was in the tub at this point, and that was definitely helping with pain, and Matt was just pressing on my hips every time I was having contractions.
Well, I think at that point she was, because she was in the bathroom with you, so
but you guys swapped.
We swapped a little bit.
Yeah, Matt was doing it before, because I was getting to the point where I would start to, like, before Jess got there, I was like at the point of like I'd be tearing up during the contractions because they were getting really intense, almost like.
When at this time I'm trying to like clean up the dishes and stuff too, a little bit in between.
Finish packing the hospital bag.
Make sure everything's ready to go, because I'm like, it's happening tonight.
So I just wanted to say, before you talk about the midwife, so once the doula got there, basically she was in the bathroom with me for a bit. We dimmed the lights. We had soft music playing. Yeah. I was sniffing peppermint oil a lot because I was feeling so nauseous. Remember that pizza? Let's like rewind that pizza that
we had like a little like frozen pizza for dinner, just because it was like
idea.
Time was a ticking and it was quick and easy to throw in. That's why.
We thought, oh, it's light. It was like one of those like thin crust pizzas. And then Jess was like, oh, I wish you had told me. I would have said, do not eat the pizza. I felt so nauseous.
Yeah.
I constantly.
In hindsight.
Yeah.
But I think it's what we had, and it was quick.
Yeah.
Right? So.
I thought I was going to throw up. We had brought in a bowl in the bathroom. We had the peppermint oil, and we were just like going through the contractions, breathing them out. I was doing a lot of like that deep, like kind of in yoga when you do the deep lower breathing kind of thing. That's what I was doing. I was very vocal at this point, like low grunting breathing.
Yeah.
To try to help like release that pain. I felt like if I was just to hold it in, it would have been even more painful. Like you have to just like let it out.
Yeah. So they're like in the tub. Jess is helping. I'm tightening. Jess is there maybe, I don't know, like I said, not long, 15 minutes. And it's like, okay, let's call the midwife. Midwife comes at around 11. And then she starts doing her checks on you. Like you said, your heart and this. And then, okay, we need to find the dilation to see like where we at, right? Because you never know, like, you could be that painful and you could still not be far along.
Oh my God.
Who knows, right? So, but then of course, like, you got to get out of the tub, get onto the bed.
Getting out of that tub was the hardest thing I've ever, I'm like, can you check me in here? And she's like, no, I need you laying down. I'm like, what?
Then I think even when you were in the bedroom and like to be checked, it was, I think you were like leaning over on the bed and then you were like waited for a break and then like flipped over.
Oh, I did that
like,
so
boom,
fast.
Okay, go check.
You had to do everything in between contractions. You're like, you couldn't be moving during a contraction. So yeah, I remember I was like on the edge of the bed, contraction. As soon as that ended, it was like,
bang,
boom. I laid on the
over.
bed and I opened my legs. I'm like, check me quick before the next contraction.
Yeah. And then I just remember she was like, okay, so you got two choices, or you got a choice to make right now. Either we leave for the hospital like right now, or like you have a baby here because you're 8 centimeters dilated. And we're like,
8 centimeters. No wonder I was in so much pain.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know that when she said that, we both looked at each other and we were kind of like, oh, like doubting ourselves, like, wait, like, do we have it here? Like, you're already so far along. We're here, like, it's comfortable. Like, what do we do?
I looked at you and I was like, you make the decision, Matt. I didn't know.
Yeah, and then I think we just kind of were like, okay, well, we put a plan together before all this happened that we wanted to do it at a hospital. So, like, let's not make a change to our like decision, like in the heat of the moment. Like, let's go with what we originally planned.
When we were of
sound mind and body, right? Like I said, the midwife got there at 11. By the time you got checked and like everything, it's 11:20, 11:30 at this point, at the latest. Maybe it was more like 11:15, 11:20, because then it's like surrounding everything up and like getting all the stuff.
It was like we were late for our plane that was leaving in 15 minutes.
Yeah, like grabbing everything and like second checking everything and grabbing it. And I think like by the time we're in the car and leaving, like, let me see. By the time we're in the car and leaving, yeah, it's about 11:30. You know, we're starting to drive in like where the hospital is. It's about a 20-minute drive from because it's the next town over.
Longest 20-minute drive of my life. The midwife is like, just take your time. I'm going to go ahead. Yeah. I'll call the hospital, let them know we're coming in hot. And she's like, don't rush, don't speed. As soon as we get in the car, I'm like, speed.
Yeah. I think your water breaks in the car.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like your water broke.
As I was getting
into
the Jeep, I was like, it's almost like I forgot that there was a water to break. Like, not everyone's water breaks ahead, so I didn't even think about it. I'm about to get into the Jeep, and like all of a sudden I just feel this gush of water, and instantly I thought of like movies where people are like, I think my water broke. That's exactly what I said, and it was just like, felt like, a gush of water, and I had to go into the Jeep just with my water breaking the entire time. Like, it was just like fluid. I don't know, our poor Jeep.
Well, on the plus side, the Jeep was fine. There was no stains or anything, no water. So I was like, oh yeah, I didn't have to. I was thinking like, oh man, I have to steam clean this Jeep afterwards. But no, safe and sound. We were good. So then it's like 11:30, middle of the night. We're in the car. It's like contractions are heavy.
I'm standing. So
you're
because
like holding on to the.
No, I had my fist. You know how Matt was squeezing my hips the entire time? That was the only thing that was giving me like some kind of relief. So I had both my fists on either side and I was just jamming them into me to like help with the pain. Oh.
Good thing for us is that there's no cars on the road, luckily at this point, so we could go pretty quick. But at the same sense, I'm trying to think like, okay, we got to drive safe, can't really run red lights, maybe rolling stops on the stop signs. But I'm just like, go, and like it worked out good. We had no issues on the drive except for you kind of going through obviously the contractions. But we got to the hospital in about just 20 minutes, pretty much spot on. So it's just before midnight by the time we get to the hospital, like 11:55, say 12 o'clock, just round up. And then it's luckily the midwife's already there. Someone's coming out with the wheelchair and you're in it. You took 1 or 2 bags with you because we still didn't know if I would just be able to go in right away quickly. So you got your 1 bag, so you had stuff to be comfortable. And like, boom, you guys just shot in there. I go park the car, grab all the stuff, trying to grab the car seat and this, make sure I have everything. Because at this point, I didn't know, like, I was under the assumption, like, once you're in the hospital, you can't leave, right? That's what we had heard before. Luckily, I go in pretty smooth to get into the hospital. They just made a quick call up to confirm that, Nikole's there and I'm good to go in. And I guess how far along you were. So I got in there within within 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, you
there.
were there fast because like we zoomed. Oh, here, maybe I'll give her tea. We zoomed in. Do you want daddy? A little change of scenery. So basically, my midwife just wheeled me in so fast. We went up the elevator to the birthing unit, and we didn't have time to even like hook me up to the IV. Like I didn't have anything hooked up to me the entire time. And she, I think, just put the heart monitor on for the baby, but I didn't have time to put on like scrubs. She barely had time to put on her scrubs. I was just in my clothes the entire time. And I was just like leaning on the edge of like standing on the edge of the bed, having contractions while my water was continuing to break. I was wearing slippers. Those slippers are thrown out now. And it was just like a mess. Like I didn't know what was happening. You came in, you brought out the little fan for me.
Yeah,
got
we had
me
a
my
clip-on
water.
fan. That was fun.
Yeah, that was like his first stroller. Matt got me a bag of ice, which was really helping to like cool me down. I remember at one point, I must have been almost 10 centimeters dilated. And I was starting to get to that like a little bit delirious, like, okay, this is so painful. Like, how far are we till like baby comes out? And Matt at one point was so cute. He's over my shoulders while I was like leaning on the bed saying like, do you need the drugs? Like you let me know and I'll go get like, you know, and then I looked at Kristen, our midwife, and I'm like, are we close? Like, don't just tell me we are, like, don't mess with me. Like, don't be like, you know, like, yeah, you got it. You're almost there. Meanwhile, like, still got an hour. Like, I need to know, like, is this baby coming out soon? And she's like, no, I'm not just saying it. I think you're so ready, so close to pushing. I was like, okay, because I'm kind of getting to that point of, like,
I think she was
dying.
like, by the time you get someone here and get the drug into you, like before it even take effect, like she'll be out.
And also,
so we're like, okay.
How could I even stand still for an epidural? Like, I think that's why it's not good to get it later on, because like, how would you stay still, like, to get that needle in your back? So that was another risk too. So she's like, okay, I'm going to check you. I roll onto my back, laying on the bed, which let me tell you, laying down was like the worst position for me during my entire laboring experience. I just felt like it was more intense, like the pain. So I lay down, she checked me. She said my water was almost done, like breaking. So she moved something aside, more water comes out, and she's like, you're 10 centimeters now. You're ready to push. And I think that's at the time you put the camera on the windowsill and like you got to see the intense, that was just the pushing, guys. That wasn't even the dilation.
Yeah, that was just like the preemptive stuff. That was like the contractions, not the actual like, it's time to start pushing.
All right, let's try to finish our story before she starts freaking out again.
Yeah, not much left, I don't think.
No.
Where were we?
We're almost at the finale.
Pushing, pain, ow, screaming.
Let me just say, as soon as, and I think I even say it in, you hear me in the birth vlog being like, oh my God, wow, like when I got the first pushing contraction, because it was the most unexpected, intense feeling. Like the whole thing obviously was really intense and painful and not anything I've ever experienced, but the pushing contractions was like your entire body is bearing down and you have no control but to like
I remember
push.
You saying that, yeah.
It takes over your body. It's the most insane sensation I've ever felt. Like my whole body wanted to push something out.
So the pushing went on for 45 minutes, which after it was done, I know the midwives were like, it was a good amount of time for your first kid.
So
They're like,
fast.
oh, that was fast. So I mean, we have no other frame of reference.
Didn't feel fast.
No. At the time, it was just like all I was doing was trying to squeeze the hips because it seemed to at least make you feel calm when I was doing that, like during the pushing, or at least help. And it's all I could do.
And I wanted water.
I felt like
my lip chap, and the ice bag was like.
I felt like
it was
ringside, like like I'm the corner man in your boxing, and I'm just like giving you this water and putting ice on your face, and you're like.
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
I'd get my breaths in between, and
that's sort of exactly what it felt
I would
like.
stuff my face
into the ice.
I don't know if I mentioned, but at this point, like I was actually squatting on the bed, so it was kind of like on all fours.
You were on all fours the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing I talked about, that how to push your baby out video, Matt made me watch like so many times that morning. That is how I pushed her out. It was like breathe in, breathe out, push down like you gotta pee. And I was just again and again so focused in this like meditative state of I'm gonna push her out. Like I was just...
Yeah, you did say like you just kept remembering that video and like what to do and like
Again
how to push, and it made a big difference, which is good.
And then it was like water, and then it was like I was so thirsty and my lips were dry. Yeah, so having Matt there like during every push contraction, which they were getting like quicker and quicker, more and more close together as they went on, that was crazy. And my screaming, man.
Oh, there were some times where like the screams were so like it sounded like a murder scene.
I felt like I was being murdered.
It was insane.
My vagina was being murdered.
How loud? Like something where it's like, I didn't even know. Like that's when you, like that amount of screaming, what like the decibel, like how you could feel it, and like it was like so raw.
What were you thinking? Were you like, is she in that much pain?
Well, like at first that's when at first when it was going on, I was like, are we doing drugs or are we not? Right? Because I'm like, you were in a lot of pain.
Leading up to the hospital part.
So I was kind of like, do you want drugs? Like, because I know like midwives and that they like the natural approach, which is good, of course. But it's like I just want to ask you separately to be like, do you want drugs or do you not?
It's easier it is easier for them because like sometimes the epidural can like delay things and stall. But at no point were they ever like, no, you can do it. Say no to drugs.
No, they're just very real. They're like, look, I think by the time,
support.
Yeah, very good, very good. So and then at this point, I guess, like I said, 45 minutes of pushing, and then, there's the point where you could start to feel the head. Because I remember at one point they took your hand and made you touch the head.
I could just tell just a soft spot on her head. I was like, no, I don't want. Okay, and then I did it, and I couldn't really tell his feeling, but I could feel like a soft spot and a little bit of hair.
Yeah, and then I remember for me, I was just at one point, I guess near the end, I looked over and you could see the head starting to come out, and then there was like, and then you were pushing it. I remember they said, okay, like when they tell you to stop, this is like near the end when they're like, when we tell you to stop pushing, you need to like stop. So
I end up hearing though in the vlog, it's to prevent tearing. She goes, I'm gonna help prevent tearing. When I tell you to stop. I didn't know that's what it was. I thought it was like a safety thing, which for me,
I think they probably had to readjust. I didn't actually see, but I remember just seeing her head coming out, and you could see like it was just like, oh man, because I guess the sac's still over, so it's like things are all. It looked like in movies where like a criminal wears like pantyhose and their face is all like that. It was like that. I was just like, oh. But of course I got like so emotional. I was like, tearing up. Right? You seen this like baby creature coming out of the. It didn't look like a baby at the time.
It's a baby.
Yeah, but like that was wild. That was a crazy thing to see. You're just like.
I can only imagine what it looked like from your angle.
I mean, I wasn't like, because I was so focused on the pushing, I wasn't looking down there very often. It was more just as the head came out, and they were saying it, I looked and I could see it, and I was like, oh my God. And then I think they had to kind of move the cord around to make sure it wasn't wrapped and get things ready and like shift the hips and all that. Or shoulders, shift her shoulders.
Oh, that's what she was doing.
I think so, to help prevent tearing. And then it was kind of like one last push, and she just like...
And that is when I think...
She's like slid right out like a water slide.
She did. The footage is insane. It's just like...
Yeah, it just comes out real quick at that
like,
point.
You better catch that baby before
I think once the head's out, it's just like the rest is just slips out.
That ending, though, feeling her like fully come out. Like, I didn't actually tear on my perineum, which is like the area between your butt and your vagina, in case you're wondering. We like to keep it real here because of all the stretching, which I could talk about that in a whole other video, but perineal stretching, highly recommend. But I did get some micro tearing kind of like at the top near my urethra. So from how, because I was squatting down and how her face was coming out, but it was micro tearing, like almost didn't need stitches. But I did feel that.
You did have to get stitches, but
I
it was
felt
more
those
like
tears and they were not fun.
One long stitch instead of multiple. Because I was like, how many stitches? And he's like, well, it's not really multiple, it's one, just I guess longer one. Yeah, because at that point, Sage is out. You were on all fours when she came out, and then they kind of took her and they did what they had. Yeah, they did what they had to do. I think they had to wipe her a bit, or I don't even know. And
take
they
the umbilical cord off of her.
Yeah, and they slid her up between your legs, like footballed her, and then we're like, okay, you got to roll over onto your back. And I think like obviously at that point your balance bit off, because I remember when you're trying to roll over, you're like getting pretty close to the edge of the bed.
Yeah.
And we're all like, whoa, okay, like moved you over there. At that point, like so much is going on because they're checking and they're wiping down and baby's crying and you're crying. And
that point in my life and in the labor process was the most insane thing, because you go from the most excruciating pain that I've ever felt to the best moment of my life so far. And it's like, oh, I know, no, it's the best. I said it was the best. Yeah. It was just like so much pain to then all of a sudden, I guess when the baby comes out, your body flushes you with like oxytocin, which is like a happy, feel good hormone. And so you instantly, it's like no pain. Yeah, it was crazy. As soon as she came out, it was like all the pain was gone. And all I could think about was that there was a baby on me. I think Matt got some clips of like just that moment, which I'm so happy that you grabbed the camera, because that, like, I cry every time I watch it. And that moment when she came into the world was like the most surreal thing ever. And now Mommy and Daddy have no time to themselves to film a video. Hey. The crazy thing is like, I did not, I've said this so many times, I did not expect her to be so blonde. Like, she's strawberry blonde hair, but like bleach peach fuzz all over her. I still think
very fair.
Very fair. I was like, how is this my child? She's so cute. And yeah, she's just our sweet little peach. And we're just like, I know we're both just so grateful for a healthy baby. There was no complications with her. So she came out at 1:26 a.m. She was born. She weighed 7.1 pounds, and which I thought I was gonna have a huge baby. So
November
that was great.
8th.
Yeah.
November 8th.
You're a Scorpio. What were your thoughts when she like finally came out?
It's just a lot of emotion. I don't think at that point you're like thinking really. You're just sort of like, I guess I just remembered to grab the camera to film that, and then it was just like happy to see her come out, happy that like you were okay, you were safe, she was safe. It was nice, like I think subconsciously you're thinking like, oh, it's good that they weren't like, oh, there's something here, there's something wrong, or we got to take her, which like happens. So I think when they didn't have to do that, it was in the back of my mind, right? And they're like, oh, they just took her and wiped her down, and we spent a bit of time with her while they were checking you and doing that. And then, I cut the cord cutting. She's saying, wrap this up. This video's too long.
So Matt, for all the dads who are like scared to look or cut the umbilical cord, how was it for you? And do you think it's as like, what's your take on it? So
because you're on all fours and I was focusing really on trying to squeeze your hips, keep you comfortable, I wasn't really looking down there that often. I really just kind of looked down when they said her head was out. So, I mean, for me, like seeing the head come out in that, it was, I didn't find it anything weird, but perhaps if I was just sitting at the end of the bed, staring at it for 45 minutes, and maybe the experience would have been different. I don't know. But, so I don't think that was bad. Cutting the cord, I know I had friends and some other people say it was like gross and they didn't like it and recommended not to do it. But like, I don't know, I did it. I didn't think it was weird at all. It was just, cutting a cord. Went quick.
Don't be a wussy. Unless you're like really grossed out by blood and you're going to faint. I don't think it's a big deal.
That's different, but it's not like,
I've done it. I cut my sister's for Diana. Yeah. It's not a big deal.
Not a big deal at all.
Did it ruin sex for you for life?
No.
Sorry, Chloe.
No, not at all. It's just like, But once again, if I was staring at it for 45 minutes, then maybe it might have made the experience a little bit like more, take time to get over. I don't know. But no, for me, it was just... I think as long as you're focusing on making the experience good and everyone comfortable and less on focusing on that kind of negative stuff, I think you're fine. People will be fine. So for you, how did you feel? Like, was it as painful as you thought it was going to be? Would you do it again without like the drugs, or what are your thoughts?
It's funny because as soon as they pushed her out, I was thinking like, was it worth it? Yeah, what would I do differently next time? I definitely don't regret like the whole birth plan. Laboring as long as we did at home, I think is what kept me calm and able to dilate, because a lot of times I feel like women don't dilate that quickly because they're stressed out and tight and tense, and that wasn't the case for me. I was quite calm at home, just in a lot of pain. So I don't regret it. I wouldn't change anything. My recovery's been really great, and part of that I do attest to just doing it unmedicated, but I don't have anything to like compare it to.
No.
it was way more painful than I ever thought. I did not know I could endure that type of pain. That level of intensity was insane. And I honestly felt like a superwoman. Once I gave birth, I was like, I can do anything.
I can try.
Like anything that bothered me before or I was like anxious about, I was like, don't bother. Like the benchmark now has been raised so high for like pain level.
Yeah, but I remember like the midwife or doula or someone saying like, oh, just remember that like your body won't put you through more pain than you can handle.
I forgot. Yeah. That helped me so much. The doula said that when I was in the bath with her. Yeah, like your body will never put you through more pain than you can handle. And I was just telling myself that like the pain will not overcome me or like take over. So, okay, we're going to wrap this up because she's getting cranky.
Yeah.
So while Matt's going to see if she'll go in her bassinet for a sec. Would I do it with drugs the next time? I thought I would after I gave birth, and then after talking to some people and knowing that like hopefully things would be quicker the next time, I feel like I would probably just do it the same all over again. Like it sounds crazy because I'm pretty sure I have amnesia and forget exactly what the pain was like, but knowing now what my recovery has been like and that hopefully baby number 2, if we decide to have another baby, would go a little bit quicker. I think, if I made it through the first, I can do it again. And honestly, the needle scares me too. Like epidurals freak me out. So I feel like I would just like endure the pain again. I must be crazy. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I am. Even telling the story, I feel like I'm telling somebody else's story. Like it's true what they say. Your body makes you forget, probably for survival and to make sure that you want to have another baby and push another baby out. But it is definitely like the most intense thing I think I will ever experience. And regardless if you have to do drugs, do a C-section, however you birth your baby, I think it's an incredible experience. And every story is unique and is just a crazy wild ride. Like I felt like out of Animal Planet or something. It was just insane. You're just like, get this baby out and that is your focus and nothing else matters at that point in time. So yes, I would do no drugs again, as crazy as that sounds. So a lot of people have been asking about the name. Did I force Matt to have my last name for her? Like, no. Like even her first name, it was a mutual decision.
Yeah. Really, like, for me anyways, my, not to go deep, but like my father left us when we were pretty young, so I don't know him really. Probably last time I saw him, I was like 8 or 9 years old. So I don't have any emotional connection to my last name because it's from him.
It's not your mom's last name.
It's not my mom's last name or anything. It's from a man that I don't really know or have, connection or feelings to. So to me, it's like didn't matter to me. Whereas for you, your last name's a little bit more. You share it with your sister.
I also have daddy problems, but I'm still connected with that side of the family, and they're good people. So for me, there's still some connection to that last name, and I just like how it sounds.
It has a nicer ring to it. Sage Gonsalves. Yeah. Flows nicely. Sage Varga.
No, Varga's a last. I'm sure there's people
that have the same flow. Doesn't the same flow.
It's a pretty last name too, but there was just no connection where either one of us didn't really have connections with our last name. But if we had to pick one, I felt like Gonsalves was one. Yeah, and that's really it. It's not like someone wears the pants. Like people came up with their own theories.
And I don't really believe in this, like, I don't know, some antiquated thinking of like, I need to pass on my last name or legacy. It's just like, come on. It doesn't matter. We're not royalty or something like that.
We both love the name, and we both, it was a mutual decision.
Flow. It sounds good. I think it's a nice name. Maybe not the Chloe part.
Yeah. So that is the mystery solved, and who knows? Matt may eventually change his last name to my last name, and we can all be the Gonsalves family.
I think it's too much paperwork for all that. So,
but
that also answers that mystery.
Yeah, I know. We got a lot of questions about that.
Yeah.
And in case you guys didn't know, Matt also has a channel. I will link it down below where he talks about business, real estate, entrepreneurship. So I'm going to link that down below. Definitely go give him a follow and go show him some love. Thank you, Matt, for joining me on our birth story video for my channel. And if you guys have any questions at all, let us know down below. Like I said, I'm going to have a full recap blog post with some links and resources that we used. that I really think helped make the process as calm and smooth as it can.
Yeah, and I think you have a playlist probably with all like the stuff that all the trimesters and updates and everything.
Yeah, I mentioned that in the beginning of the video,
cool.
but yeah, I'll have my full pregnancy playlist linked down below. Hopefully this video wasn't too long, but if you have not watched the actual live filmed birth vlog version, if you're brave enough, I will link that up here and down below as well. So you guys can check that out. It's very intense. I cannot believe I put that on the internet, but you're welcome. Hopefully you enjoy.
Yes. Yes, hopefully you get some takeaways from it, right? Knowledge is power.
Yeah. All right. Sage is already, I can hear her fussing. I'm going to put her down for a proper nap. And thank you so much for watching, guys.
Bye.
We love you. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Okay, gotta go. Mommy calls.